Every year, Billboard releases the list of the biggest albums of the year on the Billboard 200 Albums chart. In this video, we'll go through the top album of each year and rank them on a tier list. Let's start with 1980. The Wall by Pink Floyd. It is the 2-disc 11th studio album by the legendary band Pink Floyd. It's a conceptual album about loneliness and isolation. It has amazing songs like Comfortably Numb, Another Brick Wall Part 2, and Hey You. It's a great album. It goes into the A tier. High Infidelity by REO Speedwagon. It's the 9th studio album by REO Speedwagon, released on November 21, 1980. It's full of bangers. The album is divided into Side A and Side B. It is concise, with 5 songs on each side. It's a good album. It goes into the B tier. Asia by Asia. It is a self-titled album by the British supergroup released on March 8, 1982. It starts with the amazing heat of the moment and keeps its momentum through its 9-song track list. The album has an anthemic sound to it. It goes into the A tier. Thriller by Michael Jackson. This was the biggest album of 1983 and 1984. It is Michael's most iconic album, released on November 29, 1982. It has 9 bona fide classics and 1 album. It's the best-selling album of all time for a reason. It's the perfect album. It goes into the S tier. Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. This one is also considered as one of the best albums of all time. Fun fact, people think that the title track is a patriotic pro-America song, but it's really about the marginalization of returning worker-class Vietnam vets. It's a great album. It goes into the A tier. It is Whitney's debut studio album, released on February 14, 1985. She was still trying to find her sound on this album. You can't deny Whitney's elite vocals, but this one is not one of my favorites of hers. It's still good though. It goes into the B tier. Slippery When Wet by Bon Jovi. It is the 3rd studio album by Bon Jovi, released on August 18, 1986. It represents the hair metal era of rock. This album has the big hits, but the rest is filler. It's cool. It goes into the C tier. Faith by George Michael. It is the debut solo studio album by George Michael, released on October 30, 1987. He released the album after going solo from his band Wham. It has great vocal performance from George, but not all the songs have aged well. It's an inconsistent album. It goes into the B tier. Don't Be Cruel by Bobby Brown. It's Bobby Brown's 2nd studio album, released on June 20, 1988. It's the representation of the New Jack Swing era of R&B. The album is full of hits, with all 5 singles reaching the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100. The album goes into the B tier. Rhythm Nation 1814 by Janet Jackson. It's the 4th studio album by Janet, released on September 19, 1989. It's a versatile album, full of bangers with a political message. It is Janet's most defining album. It goes into the A tier. Mariah Carey by Mariah Carey. It's the debut studio album by Mariah, released on June 12, 1990. It has 4 singles which became #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. It's full of ballads that showcase her vocals. It's a solid debut album. It goes into the B tier. Rope in the Wind by Garth Brooks. It is Garth Brooks' 3rd studio album, released on September 2, 1991. Garth is one of the best-selling artists of all time in the US. The album was groundbreaking for its genre, becoming the first country album to debut on #1 on the Billboard 200. But it's not for me. It goes into the D tier. The Bodyguard soundtrack by Whitney Houston. It is a soundtrack album from the film by the same name, starring Whitney Houston. It has classic songs like I Will Always Love You and I'm Every Woman. The Whitney songs on the album are amazing, but the songs from the other artists are just cool. It goes into the A tier. Happy Nation, The Sign by Ace of Base. It's the debut studio album by the Swedish group Ace of Base. It was originally released in Europe and the US version was released in 1993. It blazed the trail for the dance pop genre and music that comes from Sweden. It inspired future producers like Max Martin. It has great songs like The Sign, Don't Turn Around, and All She Wants. It goes into the B tier. Cracked Rear View by Hootie and the Blowfish. It's the debut studio album by Hootie and the Blowfish, released on July 5, 1994. It reached number 1 on the Billboard 200 5 times over the course of 1995. I can acknowledge that it's good music, but it's not my jam. It goes into the C tier. Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette. It is the third studio album by Alanis Morissette, released on June 13, 1995. The album is a known staple of the alternative rock scene. It has amazing songs like You Oughta Know and Ironic. There are a couple of duds in the tracklist, so it goes into the B tier. Spice by Spice Girls. It is the debut studio album by the groundbreaking pop group Spice Girls. It is iconic in the history of pop music. The songs have mostly a hip-hop and R&B sound. Apart from the hits, the other songs keep a consistent theme. The album goes into the B tier. The Titanic soundtrack. It's the soundtrack to the film of the same name, composed, orchestrated, and conducted by James Horner. The songs are all instrumentals, apart from My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, which was a chart-topping single. It's an epic and emotional sound journey. It goes into the A tier. Millennium by Backstreet Boys. It is the third studio album from Backstreet Boys, released on May 18, 1999. It signifies the boy band era of the late 90s and the early 2000s. It has great songs like I Want It That Way and Show Me the Meaning of Being Lonely. But tell me why the rest of the album is mid. It goes into the C tier. No Strings Attached by NSYNC. Another boy band album, released on March 21, 2000. When it was released, with first week sales of 2.4 million copies, it set the record for 1 week sales in the US. The rap verses on the album are cringy. It's a fun album. It goes into the B tier. One by the Beatles. It's a compilation album from the Beatles, originally released on November 13, 2000. It features every number 1 single the band achieved in the UK and the US from 1962 to 1970. It is a Beatles greatest hits album. It goes into the S tier. The Eminem Show by Eminem. It is Eminem's 4th studio album, released on May 26, 2002. It has some of Eminem's best songs ever, like Till I Collapse, Cleaning Out My Closet, and Sing for the Moment. It is not a perfect album though, with songs like Drips on it, so it goes into the A tier. Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent. It is 50's debut studio album, released on February 6, 2003. It's an album of certified bangers, Many Men, In the Club, 21 Questions, classics. It goes into the A tier. Confessions by Usher. It is Usher's 4th studio album, released on March 23, 2004. Usher had an amazing 2004, spending a total of 28 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The album is an early 2000s R&B staple. It goes into the B tier. The Massacre by 50 Cent. It is the 2nd studio album by 50 Cent, released on March 3, 2005. On this album, he tried to recapture the magic of Get Rich or Die Trying, but he failed. This is not a good album. It goes into the C tier. Some Hearts by Carrie Underwood. It is the debut studio album by Carrie Underwood, released on November 15, 2005, after she won the 4th season of American Idol. It has 2 good songs and the rest is mediocre. It goes into the C tier. Daughtry by Daughtry. It is the debut studio album by the band Daughtry, released on November 21, 2006. The band's lead singer was the American Idol 5th single finalist Chris Daughtry. It is nothing groundbreaking, but it's good. It goes into the B tier. As I Am by Alicia Keys. It is Alicia's 3rd studio album, released on November 9, 2007. No One was the biggest song of 2007, but great deep cuts like The Thing About Love and Tell You Something make the album good. It goes into the A tier. Fearless by Taylor Swift. It's Taylor's 2nd studio album, released on November 11, 2008. This album showed Taylor's potential as a great songwriter. It also has one of my favorite songs growing up, You Belong With Me, but I'm not a huge fan of country Taylor. It goes into the B tier. I Dreamed a Dream by Susan Boyle. It is the debut studio album by Susan Boyle, released on November 23, 2009. She rose to fame after appearing as a contestant on the third season of Britain's Got Talent. The album became UK's best-selling debut album of all time. 11 out of the 12 songs that appear on the album are cover songs. It is nothing original. It goes into the D tier. 21 by Adele. It is Adele's second studio album, released on January 24, 2011. It was the best-selling album in the US 2 years in a row. The songs on the album are timeless. It's an 11-song masterpiece. It goes into the S tier. The 2020 Experience by Justin Timberlake. It's Justin's third studio album, released on March 15, 2013, as his comeback from a long hiatus. It is his best album in my opinion. Mirrors is one of the best songs of the 2010s, so the album goes into the A tier. The Frozen soundtrack. It's the soundtrack album to Disney's 2013 film of the same name. It has 8 songs and 22 score pieces, composed by Christoph Beck. Let It Go carried the album. It goes into the C tier. 1989 by Taylor Swift. It is Taylor's 5th studio album, released on October 27, 2014. It is her first fully pop album. We all know the hits, but songs like All You Had to Do Was Stay and I Wish You Would are what make the album. It is her most successful album. It goes into the S tier. 25 by Adele. It is Adele's 3rd studio album, released on November 20, 2015. Adele's elegant vocals shine on this album. It's a great follow-up to 21. It goes into the A tier. Damn by Kendrick Lamar. It's the 4th studio album by Kendrick Lamar, released on April 14, 2017. Damn is the most commercial album in Kendrick's career from his impeccable discography. It gave him his first #1 on the Hot 100. It's a great album. It goes into the A tier. Reputation by Taylor Swift. It's Taylor's 6th studio album, released on November 10, 2017. Taylor went on a more hip-hop and electronic direction on this album. Look What You Made Me Do is on this album, but Delicate is also on this album, so it goes into the B tier. When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go by Billie Eilish. It is Billie's debut studio album, released on March 29, 2019. It is a dynamic and dark album. It brought in a new sound to the pop landscape. It's great. It goes into the A tier. Hollywood's Bleeding by Post Malone. It's Post Malone's 3rd studio album, released on September 6, 2019. The first 3 singles from the album peaked in the top 3 of the Billboard Hot 100. It's an inconsistent album. It goes into the C tier. Dangerous, the double album by Morgan Wallen. It is Morgan's 2nd studio album, released on January 8, 2021. It's a double album with a 30-song track list. It's a long album with a lot of Dutch, but some absolute gems. It goes into the C tier. Un Verano Sin Ti by Bad Bunny. It's Bad Bunny's 4th studio album, released on May 6, 2022. It's a worldwide hit, as it is the most streamed album on Spotify. It's a defining album in the reggaeton genre. It's great. It goes into the A tier. One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. It is Morgan Wallen's 3rd studio album, released on March 3, 2023. It has a more modern sound than his previous album. It's a long 36-track album. I don't like it. It goes into the D tier. So, what do you think of these rankings? Tell me in the comments below.